welcome to UVA and to teaching.
Normally, when I'm starting to prepare myself for a semester's teaching, I like to remind myself that even though I'm supposed to be expert on the subject, I won't know all the answers all the time, and it's okay because teaching is also a learning experience to help me reevaluate my understanding of the subject. And this helped me a lot in terms of reducing my anxiety and fear in front of a large group of students.
It's most useful to think of yourself as a facilitator of discussion when you're a TA, rather than as an expert for content knowledge.
I view myself as someone who facilitates learning, not as someone who imparts knowledge, and that's been really helpful for those first day of classes to make me feel more confident in my ability to facilitate learning.
When I was sitting in your shoes and thinking through being a TA for the first time, I tried to reflect on for myself what I appreciated about TAs when I was in undergrad, and in the past what I had gotten from my TAs and tried to distill that into a really great kind of combination, as much as I could make, of those figures in my life. For me, it was a support figure, someone who I wasn't intimidated to go to if I had questions, who wouldn't make me feel, dumb for asking a question. And how could I structure that and really communicate that by my actions and by the structure of the course itself? How could I make that clear to my students?
For me, I would like my students to see me as an honest and approachable liaison between them and the professor or the course instructors.
As a teaching assistant, you're in a unique position to be a student ally. You're not the one who's making the rules. You're not the one who's giving out the grades necessarily. You can be their ally in a way that the instructor of the course might not have that same opportunity.
Take a moment and think about developing your teaching persona. Think about who you are, think about what your strengths are, think about things that you value more on yourself and on teachers that you had in the past, and develop a set of characteristics that you as a teacher have and you communicate to your students. You can be the fun instructor, you can be the approachable instructor, you can be the relatable instructor. There is an area of possibilities and a lot of space in between. Whatever you decide to do, my advice would be to keep it authentic, because that's something that students appreciate a lot.
Something that I think is worth mentioning about the first day of class is that every first day of class, I feel nervous. I may have taught this class, TA'd this class a couple of times beforehand. No matter what, I'm gonna feel nervous. So I'm mentioning that because I'm just trying to normalize it. Like, it's normal to feel nervous. It's okay.
As I prepare to start a semester's discussion or lab section, I generally tend to try to set up a meeting with the instructor of record ahead of time and kind of ask for their goals for that discussion section. What are they thinking is the utility of it? What are they thinking it will support in terms of student learning? And how do they envision my role being connected to the role of their larger lecture?
I also think that just going to the classroom and checking it out before you teach that first day is really helpful. So, finding where on grounds you'll be teaching, making sure that you can set up the furniture the way you want it to be, know where the chalkboards are. If you can, demo the technology that you'll be using, if you will be using any. I think it's just so helpful to make the first day less of this sort of fantasy and more of a reality, so you actually see what you're working with.
I think it's important to think through what is the structure of your course, what are the situational factors that you are beholden to, what time of the day is your course, what kind of space are you in, who are your students, do you have young first-year students or do you mainly have older students?
If we want to create an inclusive learning environment, we have to start on the first day. And a lot of us tend to think of the first day of class as a blow-off, we just go over the syllabus, it's no big deal. And in reality, the way that we frame the first day of class and the activities that we do is the same way that we're framing the rest of the semester, and we're setting the tone for our students and letting them know what type of learning community are we going to create. Some things that we should try to incorporate on the first day include curiosity, community, learning, and expectations.
I like to think of the first day of class as a kind of teaser trailer for the course. So I'm giving students an impression of who I am, of what the course will be like, what kinds of activities we'll do, and really what kinds of skills and questions we'll be thinking about throughout the whole semester.
As I am preparing for the first day of classes, I'm trying to think about what I want to communicate to my students these first 20 minutes of their interaction with me, how I want them to perceive me.
While going over the syllabus is really important on the first day of class, it may not be the first thing that you should do. You may want to save it as the last thing that you do with your students. And so first, you might want to create some sort of task that they can do together that sparks curiosity, that has them learning from the get-go, and that helps them create a sense of community. And so I've read that, we tend to do icebreakers when we want to have community and have students talk to each other and work with one another. And if we give them a task instead and say, here's an assignment that you need to do together, and while you're working together, make sure to introduce yourselves to one another, that can be much more effective because it's less superficial and maybe feels more authentic to them to work together in that capacity, and it gives them a good sense of what the collaboration will look like for the rest of the semester because they're practicing it on the first day. And hopefully on a task that interests them, that makes them curious about the rest of the course, that shows them what knowledge they are already bringing to the table and how, what experiences they have that they can apply to this task.
I think anything you can do to avoid sort of having students feel that they're passively absorbing information, especially information from the syllabus on the first day, is really good. So sort of creating a dynamic experience and a memory, really,